Welcome to some new r/MaliciousCompliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Suspicious Emails. 3 months ago, my company had a 2-hour-long seminar about email phishing and how to prevent it. This seminar also included an update to our email software. Our software has a preview feature. If you hover over a link, it opens a preview of the link. I got an email from our IT director saying I was in violation of their internet policy by using social media, the main part of my job. And I was stupid and opened it. It was a phishing test, and they made me do another 2-hour-long seminar. That week, I get the following email from our director. Sent with high importance. Subject: Phishing email test. Hello everyone. This is a reminder to stay aware of phishing emails. Please review the PDF guide and take a short quiz. Link to test your skills by 5 PM. Thank you. Now, on this email attachment, one of the signs to report an email is if it is pressuring you to click a link. So I feel like I should report this as phishing. And I did. I get this email from the director 1 hour later. Subject: Reporting emails. Hello everyone. We have received numerous phishing reports about the email about the phishing quiz. Please note, any email sent from this email is not phishing. We have included a new link for your convenience. Thank you. To me, this email looks even more suspicious than the last one, so I do the natural thing and report it to stay vigilant. I have been doing this for over 2 months, and everyone keeps getting an email saying that this email is not phishing. Please don't make us sit through 2-hour seminars. The next story is called Micromanaging. I was working on a compliance project at the time. The practice had once consisted of a single compliance officer, but the company had grown and responsibilities had been split up into multiple departments. The person who had once run the entire practice alone was having a hard time handing off responsibilities to the newly created departments, and would find petty ways to claw back control at any time. This person would also panic about investigations that could prove that previous work had not been done consistently, so would revise procedures, definitions, department requirements, etc. to suit whatever agenda happened to be at play. Sometimes this meant ignoring important things. Sometimes this meant filling unnecessary reports, and things changed on a weekly basis. For some unfathomable reason, this person was very concerned about in-person coverage. This entire department worked remotely throughout 2020. All other departments continued to work remotely. This department had to be in the office. Period. To make things worse, working hours were defined as 8 AM to 5 PM with a 1-hour break. On multiple occasions, this person would complain, claiming someone had mentioned that the department was deserted before 5 PM on Fridays, the day before holidays, etc. Didn't matter that staff was working around 60 hours. Also didn't matter that there was nobody there to complain, as this was the only department on site. There were duties, which occasionally required someone to be on call until 6 or 7 PM. On-call staffers suggested that the person responsible could start late on those days, but no. The workday starts at 8 AM, no exceptions. The 2 hourly staffers took 2 to 3 hour lunch breaks, so that they could still cover the required 8 AM start date, be available until 7 PM, and still meet their no overtime requirements. The salary exempt staff wasn't having any of it though. Calls were no longer answered, because the staff was to work from 8 AM to 5 PM, and there was to be no flexibility regarding attendance. The staff got tired of this, and mutually agreed to give this person exactly what they asked for. They started sending group texts of their work lock screens, showing that they were at their desks at 8 AM. They'd send texts showing that their computers had been locked at 5:01 PM. I was briefly on this text chain and had to mute it due to the barrage of daily petty texts. The individual in question intended to mean that staff had to be there at least between those hours. Unpaid overtime was totally reasonable, but there was to be no concession made to allow staff some flexibility in the way they split up their working hours. That couldn't be said for obvious reasons, so they harped on the 5 PM minimum end to workdays. As you can imagine, this was followed by a wave of resignations. Over a 6-month period, the department collapsed, leaving them with less staff than they had before the expansion. Great for us. We ended up winning a lucrative contract to manage and rebuild the entire practice. The staffer responsible for this great resignation was found to be incompetent after their work started to get reviewed independently. The sheer volume of missed issues became impossible to justify, and this person was eventually quietly replaced. The third story is called Security Compliance. I work at an airport as a law enforcement agent. One morning at roughly 4 AM, I and my colleague were on our way to an arriving flight. We got to security and were ready to pass. Mind you, we must pass through the metal detector, but we are not to be inspected. We can carry anything we need to do our job, so we will always set off the alarm with a special pass that will allow us clearance. We don't need that pass to carry it, just to go through security. We approached security, and I suddenly realized I left my pass and my jacket in my locker, and the flight was due any minute. So I decided to dodge the bullet and go through and be inspected. That did not sit well with the guard, and he was like, "You can't go through the detector like this, and you can't use the security procedure. No pass, then no passage." Finally, he got me and had the power, basically forcing me to go back and be late. Then it dawned on me. In front of the guard and 1 foot away from the detector, I took off all my gear, emptied my pockets, etc. Gave everything to my colleague who did bring her pass. I went through the detector clean as can be, with no alarms. 1 foot after the detector, my colleague handed me my stuff. I put everything back on, and with the biggest smile, I wished him a wonderful day. The expression on his face was priceless. We burst into laughing around the corner. The next story is called Overshipment. I tiled my entire home, saved the bedrooms, ordered a pallet and a half of the tile I liked. A few days later, I get a text from my lady. They only brought a pallet. The balance will come tomorrow from a different distribution center. Cool. The next day, I'm at work and get another text. They just delivered another pallet and a half. How much did you order? I am laughing it off, assuming they will want the extra pallet back. I called the store customer service desk and advised them of the over-delivery, and soon thereafter, the distribution center called me to advise that someone will come to get it in a few days. In a few days? Nothing. So I called the DC back. "Thank you, sir. We are aware of the situation." Another week goes by, and still, nothing. One more call to the distribution center. The same woman simply thanked me for the follow-up. 2 more weeks go by, and I still cannot fit my car in my driveway. Now, I am not compliant with anything, but it's pretty malicious. I hand-loaded the pallet in my little truck, very heavy, and drive to the store. I told the young woman at the return desk of the situation. I had intended to simply give it back, because I hadn't paid for them. She stated that wasn't possible. Her only path was to accept the return and refund the money. Okay, I got my tile for a third of the cost. I'm guessing the distribution center didn't want to do the return, because that would red flag the dispatcher and get them in trouble. Easier to pay me to go away. The last story is called Administrative Fees. Many years ago, when I was a student, I borrowed some books from the city library. In my country, it's free to borrow books, but if you return them late, you get a small fee, $1 to $2. Typically, you pay the fee the next time you want to borrow a book, because you leave the books on the counter and the librarian checks them when they have time. Nowadays, it's automated with self-scanning and so forth. One day, I received an invoice by mail that I have a late fee of $1.50, and they added $5 for an administrative fee for the invoice. I called the library, as I haven't set foot in there for over a year. And the accountant confirms and says it's a late fee for a book I returned late 1.5 years ago. I can't argue, as I normally don't even remember what I had for dinner last night, so I asked about the $5 administrative fee. According to Swedish law, a claim for payment can be made up to 3 years after, and they can add a small administrative fee for the invoice. I tell them that they had all of my info, phone, email, etc. If they had notified me that I had an outstanding balance, I would have come to the library and paid the fee. But the law is the law, and they are in the right. So, cue malicious compliance. I log into my bank account and start dividing the invoice into small irregular payments with a day between the payments. I also deliberately pay 6 cents more than the invoice. I wait for all the payments to go through, and then I call them back. I talk to the accountant that can't find my payment. I notified her that I did pay the invoice, but may have divided it. The phone goes silent. And then she says with anger in her voice, "Was it you? Do you know how much work you cost us?" I replied that as they took out an administrative fee, I would get my money's worth of work for it. Then I end with that I may have paid more than the invoice and would like my 6 cents back. After numerous correspondences with their legal person, they concluded that it would cost them too much to repay 6 cents, so they couldn't legally be forced to pay. I thank her and end with that I have gotten my money's worth of work for the $5.06. Haven't set foot in the library since, and it's been 21 years. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.